You're dying a slow death. Not from some disease, but from a poison you willingly swallow every single day. The approval of others. You've become an actor in a play you hate, trading your own power for a round of applause from an audience that, let's be honest, doesn't really care about you. You've been told your whole life that being good means being agreeable, that success comes from playing nice with others, and that your worth is measured by how much people like you. This is what's known as a slave morality, and it's designed to do one thing: keep you weak, predictable, and useful. You've been sold a comforting lie, and the price is your soul. You feel it, don't you? That deep, gnawing exhaustion from constantly managing everyone else's expectations, from silencing what you need just to keep the peace. What happens when the applause stops? What happens when the very people you've twisted yourself into knots to please decide you're no longer convenient? Betrayal, ruin, the chilling realization that your entire life was built on the shifting sands of other people's goodwill. But what if I told you there's a cure, a brutal, cold, but liberating antidote to this slow-motion self-destruction? It's not found in being nicer or more understanding. It's found in the ruthless, 500-year-old wisdom of the one man who refused to be a pawn, Niccolò Machiavelli. He warned that depending on the goodwill of others is a direct path to ruin. This isn't self-help. This is self-preservation. It's a guide to taking your life back, to living for yourself, and to understanding that in a world of predators and prey, the most dangerous thing you can be is nice. So, let's start dismantling the lies that have kept you in chains. We're going to dive into the core Machiavellian principles for absolute self-reliance. Now, this isn't a path for the faint of heart. It requires you to see the world as it is, not as you wish it were. A world driven by self-interest, where power, not morality, decides who wins. Machiavelli's philosophy is a weapon, and today, you're going to learn how to use it. We're not talking about abstract theories here. We're forging a new operating system for your life, one built on the indestructible foundation of your own power. This journey is broken down into 8 ruthless lessons. Think of each one as a pillar for the fortress you're about to build inside yourself. A fortress where you are the only ruler, where the opinions of others are just distant noise, and where your will is the only law that matters. Prepare yourself. The person who started this video will not be the same one who finishes it. Section 1. Fire your audience. The abolition of external validation. First things first, you have to fire your audience. Right now, your life is a performance on a stage, played for the approval of a crowd that's fickle, distracted, and ultimately indifferent to your fate. Your parents, your friends, your boss, your partner, those faceless strangers on social media, that's your audience. You tailor your words, your actions, and even your thoughts just to win their applause. You're constantly checking for their reactions, gauging their approval, and living in a state of low-grade fear of their judgment. That isn't freedom, it's slavery. Machiavelli understood that a leader who depends on being loved by his people isn't really in control. Love, he said, is a bond of obligation, and because people are fundamentally fickle, they will break that bond the second it serves their own advantage. Seeking love and approval is like placing your well-being in the hands of people who will, without fail, put their own needs before yours. The modern lie is that you need a tribe or a community to be whole. You're told, it takes a village. But that philosophy has been twisted into a doctrine of dependence. It teaches you that your identity isn't real until it's reflected back at you by other people. You're encouraged to be vulnerable, to be an open book, because that's supposedly how you build connection. But what you're really doing is building a dossier for your future enemies. You're handing them the instruction manual on how to control you. Every insecurity you share becomes a lever they can pull. The Machiavellian reality is that true power is emotional sovereignty. It's the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from being your own source of validation. It's knowing your worth isn't up for public debate. It's a decree you issue yourself. You are not a product to be reviewed. You are a sovereign state. Other states can be allies, sure, but they don't get a vote on your internal policies. So how do you actually do this? Start by practicing strategic silence. Your goals, your ambitions, your big plans. Keep them to yourself. They aren't ready for public feedback. When you broadcast your intentions, you invite two things: the corrosive envy of those who want you to fail, and the useless advice of people who've never built anything themselves. Work in silence. Let your results make the noise. Next, you have to recalibrate what feedback means to you. Most of what you call feedback is just someone else projecting their own fears onto you. When someone says your goal is too ambitious, what they're often really saying is, "I'm not brave enough to try that, and your courage is making me uncomfortable." Learn to tell the difference between valuable critique from a true expert and the emotional noise of the crowd. A real prince listens to a few trusted advisors in private. He doesn't take a public poll to decide if he should go to war. You also have to actively practice self-approval. This isn't about cheesy affirmations in the mirror. It's about setting your own standards and then meeting them. At the end of the day, the only judgment that matters is your own. Did you act from a position of strength? Did you get closer to your goals? If the answer is yes, then you've won, regardless of who clapped and who didn't. Confidence isn't the belief that they'll like you. It's the realization that it doesn't matter if they don't. Finally, sever your emotional dependency on social media. These platforms are engineered to be validation machines. Every like, every share is a tiny, addictive hit of approval that keeps you chained to the opinions of strangers. Use these tools. Don't let them use you. Your value is not determined by an algorithm designed to sell your attention to the highest bidder. Firing your audience is the great liberation. It's terrifying at first. The silence will feel like judgment, but then something new will emerge. Freedom. The freedom to act, to think, and to be, without that crushing weight of expectation. You stop asking, "What will they think?" And you start asking, "What must be done?" Section 2. Build your own fortress. The doctrine of internal power. Now that you've fired the audience, it's time to build your fortress. Machiavelli was crystal clear about this. No principality is secure without having its own forces. He was talking about armies, warning a prince to never rely on mercenaries or allied troops. Mercenaries are disloyal. They only fight for money. Allies have their own agendas and will either abandon you or turn on you when it suits them. The only force you can trust is one that is entirely your own. This is a perfect metaphor for your life. Your army isn't made of soldiers. It's made of your skills, your knowledge, your discipline, and your financial independence. These are your own arms. Depending on anything else, a job, a boss, a single client, a relationship for financial security, is the same as hiring mercenaries. They'll serve you as long as it's convenient, and not a second longer. The modern lie we're fed is the myth of the corporate family. You're told to be loyal to the company, to see your job as more than just a paycheck. This is a brilliant piece of psychological warfare designed to get the most out of you for the least in return. Your company is not your family. Your boss is not your friend. They are allies of convenience. The moment the economy shifts or your utility runs out, you'll be shown the door with a sterile HR statement about restructuring. Your loyalty will be rewarded with a cardboard box. The Machiavellian reality is that you are a business of one. You are the CEO of Me, Inc. Your skills are your product and your discipline is your production line. Your relationship with an employer is a contract, not a covenant. You provide value, they provide resources. That's it. Your loyalty belongs to your own fortress, not to the flag of a temporary ally. So how do you build this internal fortress? First, master the art of virtue. In Machiavellian terms, virtue isn't about moral virtue. It's a dynamic mix of skill, prowess, adaptability, and ruthless courage. It's your power to impose your will on the world and adapt to whatever fortune throws at you. To build virtue, you have to become a relentless learner. What skills are in high demand right now? Master them. What skills will be needed tomorrow? Learn them now. Your goal is to become so good that you're indispensable, not to one boss, but to the market itself. This is what it means to have your own army. Your power doesn't come from a job title. It comes from the fact that you could get another better job tomorrow. Second, build financial sovereignty. Debt is slavery. Living paycheck to paycheck means you're always vulnerable. You can't make strong decisions when you're terrified of losing your income. Treat your finances like national security. Build a war chest, an emergency fund that gives you the freedom to walk away from a toxic job, to say no to an unreasonable demand, or to jump on a rare opportunity. Financial independence is the ultimate screw you money. It's the moat around your fortress. Third, cultivate an iron will. Discipline is the backbone of your army. It's your ability to command yourself to do what is necessary, not just what feels good. Motivation is a flaky friend who only shows up when it's sunny. Discipline is the hardened soldier who fights in the rain and the mud. This means mastering your daily habits, waking up early, exercising, reading, deep work. These aren't just self-help cliches. They are the daily drills that forge the steel in your character. Finally, protect your physical vessel. Your body is the hardware running your mind. Neglecting your health with poor diet and no exercise is like letting your army's weapons rust. It's a strategic blunder. You can't command respect if you're physically weak and exhausted. Your energy is your most valuable resource. Guard it. Building your own fortress is a declaration of independence. It's the moment you realize no one is coming to save you. Your security is your responsibility. When you have your own army of skills, a treasury of financial reserves, and the iron discipline to command them, you stop being a pawn in someone else's game. You become a power in your own right. Section 3. Master the economy of trust. Be feared, not hated. This brings us to one of Machiavelli's most infamous and misunderstood ideas, that if you have to choose, it is much safer to be feared than loved. This isn't a license to be a cruel tyrant. It's a cold, pragmatic calculation of human nature. Love, Machiavelli says, is held by a chain of obligation, which, because men are wretched creatures, is broken whenever it serves their own purpose. But fear is held by a dread of punishment, which never fails. Let's translate this. In the modern world, love is likability. It's being the fun, agreeable person everyone enjoys. Fear, in a Machiavellian sense, isn't terror. It's respect. It's the unspoken understanding that you are a person of substance, that your time is valuable, that your no is final, and that crossing you has consequences. The modern lie is the gospel of likability. You're told to be positive, to build consensus, to make everyone feel comfortable. Corporate culture is drenched in this. It's a facade. The real purpose of all this manufactured pleasantness is to dull your edges and make you compliant. People who are obsessed with being liked are easy to manipulate. Their need for approval is a button anyone can push to make them compromise their standards and their goals. The Machiavellian reality is that respect is a much more durable currency than affection. People love you when you're useful to them. The moment you stop being useful, by disagreeing, by outperforming them, by demanding more, that love vanishes. Respect, however, is based on your competence and your power. They might not like you, but they will listen to you. They will honor your boundaries. They will think twice before betraying you. The person who is only loved will be walked all over. The person who is respected will be given a wide berth. So how do you cultivate this productive fear? First, through unwavering competence. This goes back to your fortress. Your virtue, your skill and effectiveness, is the foundation of all respect. When you are undeniably good at what you do, people are forced to take you seriously. Your opinions carry weight not because you're charming, but because you have a track record of being right. Stop trying to be the most popular person in the room and start being the most effective. Second, master the cold no. People pleasers are terrified of saying no. They see it as a confrontation. A powerful person knows that no is a boundary tool. When you say no to something that wastes your time or violates your principles, do it calmly, firmly, and without a long-winded explanation. Apologizing or over-explaining just signals weakness. A simple, "I'm not able to do that," is enough. Your ability to say no without flinching teaches people that your resources are valuable. Third, you must be willing to be disliked. This is a huge psychological hurdle. The moment you stop optimizing for likability and start optimizing for effectiveness, some people will get uncomfortable. Your discipline will quietly rebuke their laziness. Your ambition will mirror their complacency. They might call you cold or arrogant. Let them. Machiavelli warns that a leader shouldn't mind a reputation for cruelty if it keeps his people in line. For you, this means not minding a reputation for being intense if it protects your focus and lets you achieve your goals. Just remember the crucial difference between being feared and being hated. Fear, or respect, is born from strength. Hatred is born from injustice and random cruelty. You don't earn respect by being a petty tyrant. You earn it by being a force of nature, consistent, powerful, and impartial. Your actions aren't personal. They're strategic. Embrace being respected over being liked. The desire to be loved by everyone is a weakness that will be ruthlessly exploited. The quiet command of respect is a shield. Section 4. Weaponize secrecy. Never reveal the complete design. In a world that screams for transparency and vulnerability, one of the most powerful Machiavellian weapons you have is secrecy. You're told to share your journey, be your authentic self, and let people in. This is sold as a sign of strength. In reality, it's a catastrophic strategic mistake. Machiavelli knew that information is power. To reveal your plans, your weaknesses, and your true feelings is to hand your enemies the weapons they will use to destroy you. He observed that people judge more by what they see than by what they know. When you keep your true intentions hidden, you maintain an aura of unpredictability. People can't counter a plan they don't know exists. They can't exploit a weakness you haven't shown them. The modern cult of radical transparency has created a world of oversharers. People post their every thought, victory, and setback. In the office, they talk openly about their career goals and their frustrations. They think this builds trust. What it actually builds is a massive open-source intelligence database for their rivals. Every piece of information you volunteer can and will be used against you. Your declared ambition tells others exactly who they need to sabotage. Your vulnerability is not a strength, it's an exposed flank. The Machiavellian reality is that you must become a black box. Your inner world, your true ambitions, your real strategy, your emotional state is not public property. It is a classified state secret. You decide what gets declassified and to whom. This isn't about being fake. It's about being strategic. Your public self is a carefully constructed persona, professional, calm, and hard to read. It reveals only what's necessary. Your true self is reserved for your own private counsel and maybe one or two people who've earned absolute trust through years of trial. How do you put this into practice? First, learn to speak less than necessary. In any conversation, the person who talks more gives away more power. Train yourself to be an observer. Let others fill the silence. They will inevitably reveal their motives and their weaknesses. Your silence will make them uncomfortable, and they'll spill information to fill the void. When you do speak, your words will carry far more weight. Second, never reveal the end goal. When you're working on something, only show the next immediate step. Don't broadcast your 5-year plan. If you tell everyone you plan to be CEO, you instantly create rivals who will work to undermine you. But if you simply focus on crushing your current role and then the next one, your rise will seem like a natural progression, not a calculated conquest. Let them underestimate you. Their miscalculation is your greatest weapon. Third, control your emotional temperature. A reactive person is a readable person. If people know what makes you angry or insecure, they know how to pull your strings. You have to cultivate a state of non-reaction, an external calm that's impossible to penetrate. This doesn't mean you don't feel things. It means you don't let those feelings dictate your public actions. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature in the room. You don't just reflect it. Weaponizing secrecy is about reclaiming your privacy as a strategic asset. It makes you unpredictable, harder to manipulate, and far more powerful. In an age of constant noise, silence and mystery are king. You move like a submarine, silent, deep, and only revealing your position when you're ready to strike. Section 5. Embrace the dual morality. Do good when possible, evil when necessary. This is where we get to the heart of Machiavellianism, the part that separates the pragmatist from the dreamer. Machiavelli's most controversial insight was that the rules of conventional morality don't apply in the arena of power. He wrote, "A man who wants to make a profession of good in all regards must come to ruin among so many who are not good. Therefore, a leader who wants to stay in power must learn how to be able to not be good, and to use this and not use it according to necessity." This is the doctrine of dual morality. There's the private morality you might practice with your loved ones, based on trust and kindness. And then there is public, strategic morality, which is governed by one thing: effectiveness. The famous paraphrase, "the ends justify the means," captures this spirit perfectly. The success of your mission, your survival, your rise, the security of your fortress is the ultimate good. Any action that gets you there is justified. The modern lie is that you can be a good person and a powerful person without ever having to choose between the two. We're sold feel-good stories about ethical leaders who won by always doing the right thing. That's a children's story. In the real world of cutthroat competition, there will be times when your moral code is a liability. Times when being honest gets you fired, being fair causes you to lose, and being compassionate leads to your downfall. A person who ignores what is done for what should be done will bring about his own ruin, not his preservation. The Machiavellian reality is that virtue and vice aren't absolute. They are tools in a toolbox, to be used depending on the situation. Deception, manipulation, even calculated cruelty aren't inherently evil. They are tactics. Refusing to use them on principle is like a soldier refusing to use his rifle because it's violent. He will be a very moral corpse. A powerful individual understands that in a world where others won't hesitate to use these tools against you, your commitment to pure morality is strategic suicide. So how do you apply this terrifying but liberating idea? First, adopt a consequentialist mindset. You judge an action by its results, not its intentions. Before you act, don't ask, "Is this the right thing to do?" Ask, "What outcome will this produce, and does that outcome serve my mission?" If a lie protects your position from a rival, it is a good lie. If a moment of ruthless decisiveness, like firing someone who's dragging the team down, secures the project's success, it is a good action. You're not trying to be a saint, you're trying to win. Second, learn to wear masks. Machiavelli noted that a prince should appear to be merciful, faithful, humane, and religious. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few touch what you are. In your professional life, project an image of impeccable integrity. Seem like the perfect team player. This disarms people. It makes them trust you. But behind the mask, you're a cold calculator, always aware of the power dynamics, always ready to act ruthlessly if needed. This isn't hypocrisy, it's strategy. Third, know when to break your word. A promise is a tool, not a sacred vow. A wise leader, Machiavelli wrote, cannot and should not keep his word when it puts him at a disadvantage. Since other people are wicked and won't keep their promises to you, you are not obligated to keep your promises to them. This means you have to understand that agreements are contingent on circumstances. If a situation changes and honoring an old promise would lead to your ruin, you must be willing to break it. This shouldn't be done lightly. Your reputation is valuable, but your highest duty is to the survival of your own state. Finally, you must be able to make hard decisions without emotional turmoil. This is the hardest part. Our brains are wired to feel guilt when we break the rules we were taught. To operate with a dual morality, you have to compartmentalize. The evil you do when necessary isn't personal. It's not driven by malice. It is a calculated, strategic move. You're a surgeon cutting away a diseased limb to save the body. The surgeon doesn't hate the limb. He's just doing what's necessary. This is the final break from the slave mentality. Section 6. Become the fox and the lion. The art of adaptive survival. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn from two animals, the fox and the lion. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten off wolves. This is a masterclass in adaptive strategy. The lion is brute force, raw power, and open aggression. The fox is cunning, strategy, and the ability to see what others miss. Being only a lion makes you a blunt instrument. You're strong, but you're predictable. Clever opponents will easily lead you into traps. Being only a fox means you're a master of schemes, but have no power to defend yourself when you're cornered. You might see the trap, but you're too weak to fight your way out. The truly powerful person is a hybrid, able to shift between these two modes as needed. The modern lie encourages you to be a domesticated fox. You're taught to be smart, use soft skills, persuade, and collaborate. The lion is seen as toxic and aggressive. Direct confrontation is frowned upon. This creates a world of clever people who are terrified of conflict and lack the spine to enforce their will. They're all strategy and no strength. The Machiavellian reality is that the world demands a full spectrum of responses. There are times for subtle maneuvering and times for overwhelming force. There are moments for the cunning of the fox and moments that demand the roar of a lion. To rely on only one is to be permanently handicapped. Ultimate power lies in your ability to adapt. So how do you master this dual nature? First, cultivate the fox's vision. Develop a powerful sense of situational awareness. A fox survives because it sees the hunter's snare. In your life, this means learning to read the subtext of every interaction. What's the unspoken agenda? Who has the real power? What are the hidden motives? You have to train yourself to see the political landscape, not just the technical one. Assume every interaction has a power dynamic at play, because it does. The fox is a master of recognizing traps. Second, develop the lion's strength. This is your presence and your will. It's the ability to project an aura of unshakable confidence. When you walk into a room, people should feel your gravity. This comes from your posture, your eye contact, and the economy of your movements. A lion doesn't fidget. It doesn't use filler words. It doesn't look away first. This strength is also shown in your willingness to engage in necessary conflict. While the fox avoids traps, the lion confronts threats head-on. When a boundary is crossed or a challenge is made, you must meet it with focused intensity that says, "I am not to be trifled with." Third, and this is the true art, you must know when to switch between the two. When you're gathering information or negotiating, you are the fox. You're curious, quiet, seemingly harmless. You let others think they have the upper hand, but when a decision is made and it's time to act, or when a direct threat emerges, you become the lion. Your demeanor shifts. You become direct and immovable. The shock of that transformation will disorient and intimidate your opponents. People who thought they were dealing with a fox are suddenly face to face with a lion. You are no longer a one-trick pony. You are a complete warrior, able to outwit the clever and overpower the strong. This adaptability will make you impossible to predict and incredibly difficult to defeat. Section 7. Treat alliances as temporary tools, not sacred bonds. In the world of power, there are no permanent friends, only permanent interests. This is a core idea that Machiavelli understood completely. He constantly warned his prince about the dangers of relying on allies. The most dangerous position to be in, he said, is to depend on the arms of another, because if they win for you, you become their prisoner. An alliance, in the Machiavellian view, is not a bond of friendship. It's a temporary convergence of self-interest. It's a tool you use for a specific purpose, and when that purpose is served, the alliance is effectively over. To keep placing trust in a former ally is to invite a knife in your back. The modern lie is the cult of the team. We're taught that we're all in this together. Teamwork and loyalty are held up as the highest virtues. You're encouraged to see your colleagues as a work family and put the group's needs before your own. This is a beautiful and dangerous illusion. Your colleagues are, first and foremost, your competitors. You are all rivals for the same limited pool of promotions, resources, and recognition. The Machiavellian reality is that every professional relationship is a strategic calculation. You must constantly assess the value and risk of each alliance. What do they want? What do I want? How can we help each other? And most importantly, at what point will our interests no longer align? Knowing this lets you get the most out of a relationship while it lasts and protect yourself when it's about to end. So how do you navigate this world of temporary alliances? First, run a continuous cost-benefit analysis on your relationships. For every key person in your network, ask yourself, where do our interests align, and where will they inevitably diverge? This lets you anticipate when an alliance will fracture. Second, never give anyone your complete trust. Trust isn't an on-off switch. It's a dimmer. Adjust the level based on demonstrated loyalty and shared interests. Even with your closest allies, hold something back. Never give them the power to ruin you. Give allies enough information to do their job, but never give them the whole blueprint. Third, be willing to cut ties ruthlessly. When an alliance is no longer serving you, or when a person becomes a liability, you must be able to sever the connection cleanly and without emotion. This is one of the hardest things for people to do. You'll be tempted to give second chances to avoid the discomfort of confrontation. That is a mistake. A liability is like a gangrenous limb. If you don't amputate it, the infection will spread and kill you. Finally, pay your debts with money, not loyalty. When someone does you a favor, it's often a trap. They're creating a debt they plan to call in later. Whenever you can, repay favors with something tangible and immediate. If a colleague helps you, don't just say thanks. Buy them a gift, take them to lunch, or find a concrete way to return the favor. This clears the ledger and prevents the favor from being used to manipulate you down the road. Navigating the world this way seems cold, but it's the essence of self-preservation. It's about cooperating with your eyes wide open. You are a sovereign state making treaties, not a teenager making friendship bracelets. Act accordingly. Section 8. Study the art of war. Master the rules of your own game. For Machiavelli, there was one subject a prince had to master above all others: the art of war. He said a prince should have no other object nor any other thought, but war and its orders and discipline. He wasn't just talking about battlefield command. War is a metaphor for the constant struggle for power, survival, and dominance that defines our lives. To study the art of war is to study the rules of the game you are playing, whether that's your career, your business, or your social life. If you don't understand the strategies, power dynamics, and unwritten rules of your profession, you will be outmaneuvered and defeated by those who do. The modern lie is that passion is enough. Follow your passion, they say. Do what you love, and the money will follow. This is dangerously incomplete advice. Passion without strategy is a hobby. It leads to the starving artist syndrome, people who love their craft but are ignorant of the war of business, marketing, and negotiation. They love the art, but they haven't studied the war, so they remain powerless and poor. The Machiavellian reality is that success is born from rigorous study and relentless preparation. You have to become a scholar of your chosen field. You must approach your career with the same seriousness a general approaches a military campaign. You need to know the terrain, the enemy, your own strengths and weaknesses, and the strategies that lead to victory. First, identify your battlefield. What game are you actually playing? Corporate law? Entrepreneurship? Once you've defined it, study its history. Who are the great generals who have won on this field? Read their biographies. Analyze their strategies. Success leaves clues. Second, analyze the current landscape. Who are the major players right now? What new technologies or trends are changing the rules? You must be a student of your industry, understanding its structure so you can spot opportunities and threats. You have to know more about your field than anyone else. That knowledge is your strategic map. Third, engage in constant war games. Machiavelli advised the prince to always be thinking about war, even in peacetime. For you, this means constantly running what-if scenarios. What if my main client leaves? What if a new competitor enters the market? By running these simulations in your mind, you develop contingency plans. When a crisis finally hits, you won't panic. You'll execute a plan you've already rehearsed. Finally, master the practical disciplines of your war. This means not just your core job skills, but the meta skills: negotiation, office politics, public speaking, and psychology. Many people are technically brilliant but fail because they're naive about the political and social games being played around them. To study the art of war is to study the entire ecosystem of power. This final principle ties everything together. It is a commitment to lifelong learning and strategic thinking. It transforms your career from a series of random events into a deliberate campaign. You are no longer just an employee. You are a general, a strategist, a prince. We started this journey by acknowledging a slow death, the one that happens when you live for other people's approval. We have walked through the forbidden armory of Niccolò Machiavelli and armed ourselves with the principles of power and self-preservation. You've learned to fire the audience and listen to your own voice. You've learned to build an internal fortress of skill and discipline, so your security rests on you and you alone. You've learned that respect is safer than love, and that your boundaries are only as real as your will to enforce them. You've seen the power of secrecy, the necessity of a dual morality, and the art of being both the cunning fox and the ferocious lion. You now know that alliances are temporary and that your life is a grand strategy game that you must study to win. These lessons are not easy. They cut against everything you've been taught about being good. They can feel cold, even cruel, but they are instruments of liberation. They are the tools you use to break the chains of dependence and finally claim your own life. You were not born to be a pawn in someone else's game. The throne of self-reliance is waiting, but no one will give it to you. You must seize it. Every life built on the goodwill of others will eventually shatter. But the person who is sovereign over themselves, who commands their own will with iron discipline, is the prince of their own world. The world won't change. It will always be filled with those who want to use you. But you have changed. You now see the game. You have the playbook. The choice, as always, is yours. Will you continue to be the agreeable, predictable prey, or will you embrace the cold, clear, and powerful path of the predator? Will you live for them, or will you finally live for yourself? If this philosophy resonates with you and you're ready to continue your study in the art of power and self-mastery, subscribe to this channel. The lessons have only just begun.